Hey guys, Chad Hoover, KayakBassFishing TV, and we recently finished the series on my favorite fall fishing lures, okay? And one of those lures was the fluke, right? The fluke is a good year-round bait, but I really like it when I'm working my way up the backs of creeks, when I'm following the shad up the creek to the backs of the creeks and then back out of the creeks in that fall to winter transition. What we didn't talk about is how to fish it. And so I really like fishing with other anglers that are, more accomplished and more experienced than I am, and relatively new anglers who ask a lot of questions, because you learn a lot in both instances. And I also like fishing with everybody in between. But one of the things that I really like about fishing with an angler that has got a significant amount of experience is that you share and compare ideas. And then a lot of times you actually have the same ideas. And when you work with somebody in the industry that I'm in, somebody that's in marketing, somebody that's a writer, a photographer, videographer, you compare different ways to articulate a particular point. So when it comes to fishing a fluke, the rod is not responsible for the action, the lure is. So when you cast a fluke out, you let it hit the water. I like to peel off the rod's length toward the line and then just twitch it and then kind of reel up my slack, twitch it and reel up my slack. And you let the lure do the work for you. You're a bit watching the lure and a bit line watching, like when you're worm fishing. So I kind of went around my elbow to get to my back, but here's how it works. I was fishing with a good buddy of mine, Jeff Little. Jeff Little is a river guide, videographer, writer, photographer, and a very accomplished smallmouth angler. And he said something to me about observing anglers using stone hands. And I thought, stone hands. He's like, yeah, they grab a hold to the reel so hard that they overfish the lure. Now, immediately upon him explaining it, I knew exactly what he meant. And I knew that I used the same philosophy that he did. But let me talk to you about it, because I need to give Jeff credit for how to articulate it. I've done it for years. I understand the concept. I grasp the concept. But you throw your lure out, you raise your rod tip, and you're fishing this vertical presentation, what I call a non-contact presentation, where you're not directly reeling or directly in contact with the lure. When you're fishing a non-contact, a non-direct contact presentation, you want to have loose hands, okay? You want to loosen your hand up on the rod. What I like to do is, especially with a bait caster, is I like to put that trigger between my pinky and ring finger. I think that's how most people fish it. I like to have that ring finger on the blank through, and then I like to take my middle finger and my pointer finger and put the middle finger perpendicular to the rod and put my pointer finger up the back of the rod. What that allows me to do is have a super loose grip on the rod, and I'm working the lure to take up the slack and impart a little bit of action on it, and then let it do its thing as it settles through the water column. And then I'll twitch, reel up the slack, and then do it again. If you hold the rod too hard, you're gonna overfish the lure. You're gonna keep it too much contact, and then a lot of times when the fish grabs it, they feel you before you feel them, and you're not successful. So when you're fishing in that fall to winter transition, and especially when you're fishing in the winter time, when the fish don't bite as aggressive, when they're a little more lethargic, when they're not blasting the bait on top, when they're not running it down and hammering it, you really want to use the loose hands concept. Jeff Little articulated it to me as don't use stone hands. That took a little bit of explaining to understand, so I'm gonna call it loose hands. So use a loose hand. In other words, loosen up your grip. Don't squeeze the black out of your handle, don't squeeze the cork out of it. And like I said, I like to balance the rod against the tip of my finger. That makes it more sensitive. I can feel the blank through, and if the fish does hit it when I'm in contact with it, it kind of has a fail safe to kind of fall forward. I give it some slack, I reel up my slack, I watch where the line's going, and I set the hook and stick them. So if you want to be more successful fishing non-contact lures, like a worm in the springtime, in the summertime, early winter, a lizard, a weightless fluke, or a Cinco, use a loose hand. It'll allow you to give that fish a second to hit it. It'll keep you out of contact with it, and it'll prevent you overfishing the lure. So when you start to fish these non-contact type presentations, think of a loose hand. Think about not squeezing the rod handle too hard. It'll reduce hand fatigue. It'll reduce frustration. You'll feel more bites. And I promise you, when you've got that finger up the back of the rod blank and that fish taps on it, it'll feel like a bomb going off in your hand, and you'll detect more strikes. They won't detect as many, they won't detect you as often as you detect them, and you'll catch more fish. So the next time you're out fishing a finesse presentation, fishing a slow moving presentation, or non-contact presentation, keep in mind, use a loose hand. Guys, I'm Chad here with Kayak Bassing TV. Give this video a thumbs up if you like this type of content. Comment below, let me know if you like it. Takes a little bit of effort on your part to smash that thumbs up. It means a lot to me, and we'll keep bringing you these types of videos. The comments are awesome. Comment on the comments. This is a community and a brotherhood, so let's share amongst each other. If you disagree with what I said, or if you have some additional insights, please share them below. If they're worth mentioning, I'll pick them up and put them in one of my next videos. We'll see you next time. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and go watch another video while you're here.